So, hello again. My name is Erica, and I'm here to present a co-branded seminar with Information Planet via our business Bravo Migration. So, we're here and we come here quite often to give you information about migration in general and any topics where there's interest from the international student community. And Information Planet has recently asked me to pop in and talk to you guys about a couple of things. So just before we start, letting you know my name. The thing's right on my name, but I'm Erica Carneiro, and I'm a registered migration agent with Damara. That's not my number. My number is 0532-487. That's my business partner's number. There's the typo. I've been a registered migration agent since 2005. And I've been working with international students, visas, and temporary and permanent residence applications since 1999 when I moved to Australia and straight away when working with this. So I'm the director of Bravo Migration. We're a migration business. We offer migration assistance and help for international students living in Australia who want to stay, or people who are still outside of the country and want to move to Australia. And we're also members of the Migration Institute and the Migration Alliance. So just a little introduction. I can see some familiar faces. I think some of you guys had consultations with me before. I come here quite often, as I said. Oh, sorry. Because we have a partnership with Information Planet. So I come here every week to give free initial assessments to students that are part of the Information Planet database or membership or clients. And some of you might have spoken to me before. We also offer promotional prices to Information Planet clients who want to have a consultation with us. Basically, we offer two types of services. We assess if you guys can apply for any temporary or permanent visas. Some people want to apply for visas, but it's not necessarily the case that you can. And we create strategies for people who cannot now apply for something, and we build a plan for you to, in the future, be able to apply. Once you can apply, or if you can apply immediately, we also offer a visa application service where we prepare and submit your visa application with the department and help you get that visa in the best manner possible. So just, explanation of why you see me here all the time. I come here every week and we offer initial assessments to Information Planet clients. So you cannot talk to people who are not registered. I don't tire of saying that over and over. For you to give migration assistance in Australia, you have to be registered with the government, and always ask for people to show their license, because there's a lot of people talking a lot of crazy things out there and they're not necessarily recognized by the government, so be careful, okay? That's a quick introduction, but what I came here for is to talk to you about visas. So we have two big topics today. We're talking about changes to student visas, which I believe is what most of you guys are holding at the moment. And we're also coming to talk about a number of changes that are coming, especially the new post-study work visa, which is a new visa the Department of Immigration has created in 2011, which will only come into effect in 2013. But there's a lot of confusion about this visa, and mainly that's why I came here today. Also, to give you an overview of what's coming in 2012. 2012 is a big year in terms of changes coming from the Department of Immigration, so we're going to touch on those as well. If you have questions about these changes, please let us know, let Information Planet know, and we can schedule a seminar just on these things. Today we're going to focus on student visa and the new post-study visa. So starting, going back. Right. So, has everyone heard of the Knight Review? It's a technical name for all the changes that are coming. So, everyone here is on a student visa? No exceptions? Oh, everyone on a graduate skilled visa, on a spouse visa, so everyone's on a student visa at the moment, yeah? Great. The Knight Review was an inquiry that the government ordered from Mr. Michael Knight, who started looking into the student visa program and thinking, okay, what is wrong with this program? What is good and we should keep? What should we change, etc. So that started in 2010. In March 2011, Mr. Knight released a paper saying, okay, this is what I'm looking into, this is what I think should be examined, and I invite people who want to discuss. So, for example, if I wanted to send him a submission and say, look, Mr. Knight, I think we should go this way or that way, he was accepting comments, basically. After he accepted all the comments, in June last year, he released the report, and he made 41 recommendations. Recommendation is a very nice way of saying changes, okay? 41 things that he thought the government should change about student visas and international students in Australia. In September last year, the government said, okay, this is our response to the recommendations, and the response mainly was, we agree with everything, in principle. There's some things we're going to apply differently, but we think you're right, Mr. Knight, and we're going to accept your recommendations and change a lot of things. So when that came out, some people were freaking out. Oh my God, what changes are coming? Are they going to be good for international students? Are they going to be bad for international students? After 6 months, what we can say is there are some changes are good, other changes are not going to impact in your lives at all, and other changes sound very scary in theory, but in practice they're not really being applied to the bone. So if the government decides to take that very seriously, you might start having difficulties extending your student visa while in Australia, depending on the circumstances. But so far, it's not that bad. They're not really applying it with all the weight they could. So let's have a look at the recommendations and how they're being implemented. So in November last year, some things that they applied was they reduced the financial requirements for some student visa applications, which we're going to talk more about after. They created the genuine temporary entrant requirement, and that's a little bit scary. They created more flexible arrangements for English language students. They said they would improve processing of applications and make applications quicker and process them faster. And they also started accepting alternative English language tests. So just quickly, because that's not really making any difference in your lives, people from assessment level 3 and 4 countries have to show a lot of money in the bank to convince the government that they have the funds to support themselves in Australia as students. So countries like China, India, some South American countries for some courses, and have to show a lot of money. So they made that easier in some cases, which again, you still have to show a lot of money and prove to the government you have the funds to stay here without having to work. The government knows every student's going to work anyway, but they don't want you to rely on that income to support yourself. They like to call it incidental income. So yes, you can work when you come here. We know you're going to work, but where is the bulk of your money coming from? Is it coming from your parents back home? Is it coming from a savings account you left back in your home country? They want to see something other than, I have a job in Australia and the most of my funds is coming from that job. That's not what they want to see. So this is good. It's a good change, positive change, but it's not really affecting people a lot. Now, we're going to skip that one because it's a little bit extensive. People coming from certain countries had to prove, and that was a bit crazy, assessment level 4 countries. If you came for an English course in Australia, you had to prove to the government that you had a certain level of English before you applied for your visa. So you're coming here to learn English, and the government wants you to show that you speak English already. That didn't make much sense. It was just something to stop certain people from coming, and they removed that, which is very good. But again, you know, you don't have to prove that you speak English if you're coming here to learn English. That doesn't make sense, and they corrected that in the legislation. Now, another very good change was level 3, 4, and 5 countries. If you're extending your visa in Australia, you had to prove to the government that you had the IELTS test and you had the minimum level of English for your next course. So for example, if you're from Colombia and you're here on a ELICOS visa, so you're doing general English, and then you decide, okay, my general English course is about to end, I'm going to extend my student visa and I'm going to do a diploma in business marketing at a college. And you apply for a 2-year visa to take that course. Colombia is level 3 for diploma courses. Because of that, the government only accepts Colombian applications if you prove to them that you learned enough English to be able to take the course. So you have to show them the IELTS exam and have at least 5 on the score. So that continues, it's not going to change. They still want people that are going to a different course from these countries to show that they have the minimum level, but they're accepting other exams. And this is, it doesn't sound much, but it's actually a big breakthrough, because the IELTS is difficult, and sometimes you don't find dates to take the exam. Sometimes you take it over and over and you don't pass, and you might say, I want to take another test and see if I do better. But we couldn't. Any student applying for an extension could not take other exams. So from November last year, students can also take the TOEFL internet-based test, the Pearson test of English, and the Cambridge at advanced level. Now, in 1 year's time, hopefully, they will trickle down this change to all visa applications. So if you're applying for a sponsorship work visa or a permanent skilled visa, you will be able to use other exams other than the IELTS, which now is the only exam accepted by the Department of Immigration, and that makes things hard for a lot of people. So yes, if you're from a level 3 country, you still have to take an exam and prove to the department that your levels are up to the minimum, but you have more choices. So this is a comparison of how much your IELTS is if you're taking the other exams. So for example, if you're from a level 3 country, like I said, you need to score 5 to be able to be granted your student visa. If you're taking the TOEFL, you will need to score 35. If you're taking the Pearson test, 36. And if you take the Cambridge, 41. So this equivalency table is available at the Department of Immigration's website. If any of you need to know how much you need to score, it's there and you can have a look. So another thing I want to talk to you about, and I'm going back to the genuine temporary entrance requirement soon, because that one's a bit long. A big change that happened in the stage 2 implementation, which actually started in March, that is a typo as well. November was the first stage. Now we're on the stage 2 and it started in March, okay? They changed student visas work condition, which they really didn't change it, but it is a change. So what happened really? Student visas carried a work condition with them where you guys can only work 20 hours a week when your course is in session. What does that mean? When you're on holidays, you can work as many hours as you want. So they were very strict in terms of your week is the 7-day period from Monday to Sunday, and during that period of time, you could only work 20 hours a week. If you worked 1 week, 1 hour more, and the department found out about it, you could be in trouble. Now that's very rigid, and sometimes, you know, students don't work at all in 1 week, and they work in a company that has functions, and you work as a waitress in a functions company. This week there's no functions, so you got no hours in a casual job, and you stay at home and go like, wow, I didn't work, I didn't make any money this week. And next week they call you and say, well, we have 3 functions this week, we need you to work 35 hours. And you say, but I can only work 20 hours a week. So that was being a bit hard for a lot of students in terms of no flexibility with the hours. And that is, I've been here for almost 20 years. This is the first change to the student visa work conditions ever in the history of the country. So what did they change, really? At first you look at it and you go, this is not much different. You can work 40 hours per fortnight now. So what is a fortnight? 2 weeks. So in a period of 2 weeks, you can work 40 hours. So going back to the example I just had, you work in a catering company, doing functions as a waitress, and this week they call you because you're a casual and say, don't show up, we don't have any functions this week, and you go, okay. Next week they call you and they say, we have 5 functions, we need you for 40 hours. You can say yes, because you didn't work on the week before. So in a period of 2 weeks, you can work 40 hours. So you can change your roster depending on what you do to accommodate this, and you know, it might be the same in the end, but it might mean you have a bigger choice of jobs. You might go and work in a shop where you say to them, I can only work 20 hours a week, and they say, sorry, we can't employ you. But if you say I can work 40 hours every 2 weeks, they might say, well, we can work with that. We can maybe give you 10 hours this week, 30 the next, and organize your life in a way that is good for you and good for us. So it is a big change. It is in place already. So every single one of you here can do this now. It started on the 26th of March. You can work 40 hours every 2 weeks as of today. Even if your student visa is 10 years old, I've been here studying a course for 9 years and my course never ends. Yes, the new rule applies to you as well. It's for old and new student visa holders. Do you have questions about this? Because everyone's looking at me like, wow. It's not a big change, but you know, in paper, but it might be in real life, which is good, and it's a good change. Okay? Now another couple of things they changed was level 3 countries. For example, if you were from I'm trying to use another country that is not Colombia. No, Brazil is not. It's only level 1 and 2.
Is Poland number 3?
Poland's number 1. All European countries are number 1, which is good. So level 1 countries can do a lot of things that other countries cannot, so that's good. I think Mexico is level 3. I might be wrong. Yes, level 1 and level 2. So John from Mexico is in Mexico buying a course, and he wants to come study English in Australia. He's got no English at all. He cannot even say hello. So he wanted to study a whole year. And his educational consultant there looks at him and says, sorry, you can only study 40 weeks. If you're buying an English course outside of Australia or in Australia, and you're from a level 3 country, all you could study was 40 weeks, which is like 10 months, maybe, not even that. So a lot of people were frustrated, and even if you want to extend, sometimes there was a problem because the government would come back and say, oh, you've studied too much English, go do something else. Go do a diploma, go do a bachelor degree. Now, you can study 50 weeks if you're from a level 3 country. So it's almost a year, and it's much better. It's another 2 months and a half of studies that you can take that before you couldn't take. So that's a good change if you are from a level 3 country. If not, if you're level 1 or 2, you never had to worry about it. Assessment, everyone knows what it's level 1, level 2, what is this woman talking about? When you apply for a student visa, the country where your passport, not you, but your passport comes from, determines the level of assessment that you're going to be judged under. So, for example, I was born in South America, I have a Brazilian passport, but I'm also Australian. So if I'm going to the United States, I use my Australian passport because it's better in a number of ways. So I'm from Brazil, but I have an Australian passport. Same happens with people who come to Australia. You might be born on the Czech Republic, but have a Slovakian passport. So you come here as a Slovakian citizen. So the level of assessment for your country will be determined by the passport. So Slovakia is level 1 or 2. I think it's level 2. So
Mexico's level 1.
Mexico's level 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so that example, it was just an example. Thanks. So being a Slovakian citizen, you're going to be level 2. So it doesn't matter where you were born, what matters is the passport you're carrying, okay? So the assessment levels, 1 is the best, 5 is the worst. So the criteria to be granted a student visa gets harder and harder and harder in terms of financial support. So if you're from level 1, you just have to say, yes, I've got money. The government says, okay, we believe you, thanks, and gives you the visa. If you're from level 2, you can say, yes, I've got money to support myself, here is the money. And it can be a friend's bank account, your neighbor bank account, they're not very interested. Level 3 starts getting harder. You have to show the money, has to be from a relative, the money has to be sitting in your account for a number of months. So it's hard to be level 3 down, okay? Level 1 and 2, not too bad. So what they did in March was to make 29 countries better. So we're talking about countries that were like level 4, and for university courses now became number 1. So it's not a big dramatic change, but they're making things easier as part of this whole package of changes to actually get people to study here in an easier way. Because the government was making a lot of changes that was making things harder for students, and now they're trying to, correct that and make things easier for you guys. Okay? Now, I put an address there where you can. Well, there's no more room now. Sorry, there's no more room
There's
now.
one seat here. There's one seat here.
There's 2 people, actually.
Oh.
There's 2 people. There's only 1 seat, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. So I wrote this address here, and you can go online and check your country level of assessment. Some countries have different levels for different courses. Like, again, let's use Brazil for example. Brazil is level 1 for university studies, so if you come to do a bachelor degree or a master's degree, you're going to be judged at level 1 as an European country. But if you come to study English, or if you come to do a diploma of business, something like that, it's going to be level 2. So some countries have 3, 4 different levels sometimes. Alright? The whole overall message here is all the changes are good. This change here that I left for last, it's not that good. But like I said, they're not really implementing this change a lot. So it's not every application that we've been seeing getting this applied. So what really are they looking with this? When you apply for a student visa outside of Australia, or if you're here, so let's say you've been here for 5 years, you did 5 courses, and you never had trouble extending that student visa, you might have trouble now. Because the government's looking at these 4 things, 5. They want to see where you're from and why you want to be here. So let's say you're from a country where there's a lot of trouble going on, civil unrest, etc. And they're going to say, well, you really want to study here, or you're just running away from home and wanting to live here using the student visa program. We haven't seen anyone apply this yet, but they might want to apply. They can, because that's law now. The applicant's immigration history. So that example, I have a client from Scotland. He was here for 8 years on a student visa. 8 years. He did everything but English. And he didn't do English because that's his language. Otherwise, he would have studied English as well. So he did Kung Fu studies, business, tennis, everything you can think of. this guy would not be able to get a student visa now because no one ever asked him, why are you doing all these courses? What's your career plan? What do you intend to do with your life with all those courses? No one asked him that because in the past they didn't have to. There was not a law saying that they had to ask those things. Now, this requirement, if the case officer looks at your history and thinks, this person's been here for too long, these courses don't make sense, I need to know more. They can ask you to prove and explain to them why you did all the courses you did and why you want to do the course that you're proposing. Which means, if you did 2 diploma courses, or even 1, and you're applying for another diploma course, the case officer might come back and say, what do you want in terms of your career with this? Why are you doing all these diploma courses? They can even look at what you studied back home. I saw a case where someone had a bachelor in physical education from their home country, and they were here studying tourism. And it was the 2nd diploma course. And the case officer wanted to know why a physical education teacher needs to study tourism in Australia. What do you want? Why are you here? And again, from 100 visa applications, you see that happening in 1 or 2. But it is happening, and if you intend to extend your student visa, you really have to think about what course you want to study next, and that has to make sense with all your career history and options. So, the only time you're guaranteed not to have a problem is, for example, you come here to do English, then you did a diploma course, then you go and do a bachelor degree. Or you already have a bachelor degree from home and you enroll in a master degree. So really, government's pushing people to go to university. And you're going to see other things I'm going to talk about today that will point at that as well. So don't get too scared. They're not really enforcing this yet, but some cases are coming up. Another problem we've seen with this is they have refused a couple of visas for people who made mistakes in the past. So I'm going to use another example of one of our clients. She did a course, then she said, I'm not happy, I don't want to study anymore. So she canceled her course at her school. The school canceled her COE, which I imagine everyone knows what a COE is your confirmation of enrollment. It's the document that creates your student visa. The college said, no, this person is not studying anymore. And the Department of Immigration said, okay, what are you doing next? And gave her some time to look for another course. She actioned another COE, but only started studying a month later because the course only started in the next month. 2 years later, she finished that course, she applied for another course, and hence the extension of that student visa. The case officer called her and said, I can see here in your records that you didn't study for 3 months between 2008 and 2009. Can you explain to me what you were doing? Otherwise I'm going to refuse your visa. Because you cannot stop studying for more than 28 days or 8 weeks in certain cases. And she had no explanation. She's like, I did nothing, I was just, having fun and waiting until my course started. So all these little things you did in the past may come back to bite you. So be very careful when extending your courses. More than ever, you have to go to school. You have to pass your subjects. You can't disappear and go crazy and stay in Byron Bay for 3 months and don't go to school and forget about everything. You have to really pay attention to what's happening in your college because they might use it against you. So all your immigration history. And people sometimes come here on a student visa, change to tourist, then start studying again, go back to tourist, go home, get a job, get a sponsorship visa, then go back to student. That again, when the case officer is looking at your history, might be a problem. They might say, I don't think you're a genuine temporary person. It looks like you want to live here forever because you're changing all these visas. So I think you just want to stay. You're not a genuine student. So be very careful. They might say, especially for people who have been here for a long time studying, they might argue that you're not a real student, that you're just using the student program to live in Australia. What do you do about it? You think about your future. What do you want to do? Do you want to live here? What is the best visa for you next? Studying and studying just for the sake of it might not help you in the future if you really want to stay. So you might have to plan what work you're going to do, what can I do in terms of finding a job that will give me a visa, or should I go to university and get a master's degree that will help me not only to stay but to, you know, find a place in the workforce, because the whole thing, and I've seen this a lot, and yes, it was a great way of staying. Studying here and there and extending your student visa might not work as well anymore. Okay? So they're also going to look into why you're doing a course. Yeah, I want to, again, the physical education teacher. Why you're doing tourism? What is it going to bring to your career? If you don't have a good explanation, they might say no, your visa is refused. So be very careful with that. Any questions? Everyone's understanding everything so far? Is it too dark? Are you getting sleepy? It's better like that so you can see the presentation, but if you want me to turn the lights on, let me know. Now, these are the changes, and I just explained all this to you. So, political and civil unrest, student visa being used to circumvent the intentions. I just discussed all of that. If you have any questions about that genuine temporary entrant thing, let me know. If you don't have any more questions on that, we'll talk about this visa. So, everyone's cool with that? Great. Have you ever heard of this new visa? No? No one?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. I thought everyone was coming today because you were curious about this visa. So, if you didn't know about it, great. I'm going to tell you about a very nice new visa that the government has created. The visa doesn't have a name yet because it doesn't exist. This visa was created in November last year, and it's only going to start coming into effect in 2013. So it's part of the Knight Review, and Mr. Michael Knight said we should have a visa like this. I think there's a similar visa in the United States. If you do certain courses, you can stay after your course just working and seeing what happens with your life and staying, really, finding a way to stay longer. If you go to university and you do a bachelor degree, a master degree, or a doctorate, that is at least 2 years in duration, you will be able to apply for this visa, regardless of the profession you're coming from, that you're acquiring, or the field you're studying. So this is different from the skilled graduate temporary visa 485. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah.
This visa has existed since 2007, but it's only for people who have an occupation in demand at the skilled occupation list. So the list has changed in 2010, and there is what we call a transitional arrangement, when people can still apply for that visa even if their profession has been removed from the list. That's ending in December 2012. I think I put something here. No. But until then, after that, only people whose professions are in demand will be able to apply. So I gave some examples here of what is in the list today. Accountants, teachers, engineers, painters, psychologists, not painters of art, I mean wall painters, okay? Mm-hmm. Psychologists, architects, environmental health officers, occupational therapists, doctors, dentists, physiotherapists. That's not a lot of people. So unless you have a bachelor degree from these careers coming back from your country already, or if you become a professional in those areas by studying here, you can apply for this visa. And the new visa that we were talking about, anyone can apply. So if you come here and you do an MBA, we don't need business administrators anymore. We have plenty. But if you have a master's degree, an MBA is a master's degree, then the government wants you. Well, I came here, I didn't go to university in my country, and I did a bachelor degree in marketing. Marketing is not in demand, but having people with a bachelor degree is. So the government wants you. So with this new visa, they're not interested in what you're studying, they're interested at what level you are studying. So bachelor degrees, masters, we don't have enough people in Australia who have those qualifications, so we want to keep them here. Yes?
I was going to ask, TAFE is also included under the uni?
No. TAFE is not a uni, it's a college. It's a technical course. Now, if TAFE starts offering bachelor degrees, then yes. For example, do you guys know a college called Kent Institute?
Yes.
Kent Institute is not a university, it's a college, exactly like TAFE. But they have been approved by the government to offer bachelor degrees. So if you go to Kent and do your bachelor, I think they're offering bachelor in accounting or bachelor in business. If you do that course there, it's the same as if you went to university. It's not about where you're studying, it's about what level you're studying. So I don't think TAFE offers any bachelor degrees yet, but we might see them if they're smart. They will start.
But sometimes I think you can study at TAFE like for 2 years and then you can go to another unit to complete like 1 more year and in order to achieve the bachelor
Yes,
degree.
that doesn't count. You have to be 2 years at the bachelor. So let's say, for example, bachelor in administration. It takes 2 years to complete at Central Queensland University. If you go to TAFE and do 2 years of diploma in business there, then you go to Central Queensland and in 1 year you get your bachelor. Doesn't count. It needs to be 2. So if you go to Central Queensland University and they offer the course in 2 years, then you're going to be able to apply for this visa. Yes?
Yeah, I'm doing a master degree that is 1 year and a half, and I was interested in this kind of visa, but I didn't find anything about the 2 years. What they want for 2 years? Can I study 6 more months in TAFE, for example?
Initially, no. No, at TAFE, completely not. TAFE is not university. You need to study the 2 years at university level or at a master degree level. Now, one thing you can do with the skilled graduate visa is both visas you need to study 2 years. It has always been like that. So you probably didn't look properly. The law is there. It has to be 2 years. Now, this visa here, if you're doing your master's degree and it's 1 year and a half, you can top it up by doing another master's degree of 6 months if you get exemptions, or doing a double master's where you do some more subjects. And then you top up and you complete 2 years with 2 courses. So here you can study 1 or more courses that take 2 years. Now with the new visa, because it's not legislation yet, I presume you're going to be able to do the same. But we cannot count on that because the law hasn't been published. So if they follow the same Australian study requirement, which is this here, then you can finish your master's and do another master's, but not TAFE. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing is, I tried to read what is 2 years for them.
For who?
For the immigration.
Yeah, it's 92 weeks
92
registration.
weeks of study related fields and
Yeah. So how many weeks is your master's registered for?
72.
So that doesn't count.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to find a way to complete the
You have to do
remaining
another course. That's the
at the
only
same
way.
level.
Yes.
I cannot downgrade.
No, unless you're applying for the next visa. This one, yes. I have lots of clients who did masters and then diploma. But you have to have a profession that's on the list. So what's your bachelor degree from home?
It's economics. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you cannot apply for this visa. Are you doing a master's in what?
Business manager.
Yeah, you cannot apply for this, unfortunately. Your only option is the new post-study work visa because they don't care what you're studying, they care about the level. And if, again, they follow the same requirement, then you will be able to do another course. So instead of doing 1 course for 2 years, you'll be able to do 2 or more, but it's always going to have to be a bachelor or a master's. If you go to TAFE, you're going to get a diploma and it's not going to count.
So my only option is sponsorship.
Well, I don't know, and we're not doing
yeah.
personal consultations today, but I can answer that question to you another time. If you cannot apply for this visa, then you can say, no, sorry, it's full. So, you know, if you cannot apply for the post-study or the skilled graduate visa, you definitely have to look into other options, but I don't know if sponsorship is the only one. So this one, again, you need to have a minimum level of English, same level of English as you need here. You need to score 6 on the IELTS in every department of the IELTS. 666 is not 6 overall, it's 6 in every component. The good thing about the new post-study work visa is that you do not have to do a skills assessment. What is a skills assessment? So, again, if you are an accountant, right, and you're saying to the department, I want to apply for this visa because I'm an accountant, I did 2 years of a master in accounting here in Australia, my IELTS score is 6, everything's fine, I want to get this visa. You have to prove to the department that you are an accountant for Australian standards. So we have to submit a lot of papers showing what you studied exactly, and then the accounting bodies will say yes, you are an accountant, or no, you're not an accountant for our standards. So that's a paperwork process, it costs money, you have to translate a lot of documents, and you have to do it for the 485. You have to prove that you are, you know, a professional in this area. With the other visa, you don't have to do it. You don't need to do a skills assessment. You need to have the IELTS, we need to prove that you did the right course in the right duration of time, and that's it. We don't have to recognize you in your profession because they don't care about your profession. For example, if you studied business at home and you come here and decide to do a master degree in physiotherapy, they're interested that you got the master degree. And if it's 2 years, then they will let you stay and work after that. Okay? So when the visa comes out, we'll have more details, but so far this is all the details we have.
It's
Yes.
of November 2011 or 2000?
The visa was created in November 2011, but it's only for people who started courses on that date. So for example, if you started a master degree in July 2011, you cannot apply.
If I'm going to extend my visa in June, can I potentially apply for this visa?
Are you doing a master degree or a bachelor degree?
I might. I don't know
If
yet.
you start then that course now, yes.
So I'm eligible.
If you complete that course, yeah.
Okay.
Because people who started their university courses before 5th November 2011, even if they're finishing now, they cannot apply. And the first people who will be applying for this visa will be in November 2013. Because if you have to start your course then, and your course has to be 2 years, no one's going to apply for this visa before November 2013. So pretty much, you know, people who were starting before. I have cases where people are canceling their courses and enrolling in a new university and starting the courses all over again just so they can get this visa in the end. Of course, if you're about to finish your master's degree, I'm going to say don't do it because you're wasting your money and your time. But I've got people who started their courses in July and, you know, came December, they said, okay, I want to change. So they did a semester and now they started in February a new course so they can qualify for this visa because what counts is the starting date of your course. So if your starting date was 6th of November, you're in. If it was 5, you're out. It's pretty much black and white.
I was just wondering what year we're talking about.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Like it was 5th November
2011.
2011.
Yes, yeah, 11. All the changes started in 2011. Any questions about this visa?
What about work experience?
You don't need to have work experience. It's
So you
all
have-
about studying.
You have to have an employer to apply for this visa?
No.
So it's like kind of permanent resident or temporary
No,
resident?
it's
or
a 2 years visa.
2 years?
The
only?
visa will give you full-time work permission to stay in Australia working in whatever you want, but after 2 years, you have to do something. So you then apply for a work visa, or you apply if you're in a relationship with an Australian, you can apply for a spouse visa, but it's not a permanent visa by all means, it's far from it.
You can work in whatever you want.
Yes.
Doesn't matter the
Doesn't
background
matter.
that you have.
No, doesn't matter. So again, let's use that example. The person has a bachelor degree in administration from their home country. They come here, do a master's degree in physiotherapy, which I don't think is possible, but it's just a crazy example. They can work with whatever they want. They can work as a waitress, as a business manager, as a physiotherapy. As long as you have the right qualifications and people are giving you the job, no limitations in terms of what you're going to do. It's all about what you studied. Again, the government needs people with degrees. Australian people are not going to uni enough. We don't have enough people to fill the demand in jobs that require degrees. So we want to retain international talent with the right qualifications to stay here and work.
And
if
if
you
you
find-
study back in your country, if you did a bachelor degree back in your country, you can apply for that visa, even if it was like before the
No,
5th
you
of
can only
November,
apply for this visa if you're studying in Australia.
if you're studying in Australia.
Yeah. It's a post-study for people who are here. So the government wants to retain people who study here. You have an Australian master degree or an Australian bachelor degree. And it has to be a minimum of 2 years.
Can you
Okay.
change schools? Like your school doesn't offer you how many weeks was that? 92 weeks. For example, it offers you 70 and then you do the rest
Yeah.
like at another place.
You can change, but then you're starting all over again. Your time is counting from 0, depending on the situation.
So it must be one place, 92 weeks.
No, it can be more than one, but you have to either have one course here and you finish the course and then you go to another place, or you do one course in one place, preferably. There are circumstances where people change institutions, but you have to use the first course to be admitted on the second. So you start a bachelor in IT at University A, and you're not happy. And you say, I want to change because this course is not good. So you go to the same course at University B, and then I can show to the department that you actually were doing the same course, kind of, in different institutions, so then we can try to count everything. Now, having said that, this is how the other visa works. This is how this visa works. What the government's saying is that they're going to use the same requirement called Australian study requirement, where this law is, for that visa. But again, the law hasn't passed yet, so we have no guarantees. It might be different. If it is what they're saying it will be, then yes, you can change colleges, as long as things make sense and it's the same course. Okay? Yes.
Do we have to study the 92 weeks, or you can apply for exemptions and reduce the workload?
No, no exemptions. You can do your subjects faster and finish earlier, at least 16 months, but you cannot get exemptions. Don't ever get exemptions. If you want to apply for post-study visa, even
You
for
need
the
to study
skilled,
the number of credits.
exemptions is a
Yeah.
problem. So be very careful with
Yes.
exemptions. It would be good, but you can speed things up, but you cannot get exemptions. All right? Now, is everything okay with that visa? Should we move along because we don't have a lot of time left? Part of all these changes is how the government's going to change the skilled migration program. So, for example, if you finish a master's degree in physiotherapy today and you meet all the requirements, you can apply for a permanent visa to stay here because we need physiotherapists. Everyone can apply for that visa. The government, you pay a fee, and the government's processing your application, and they might give it to you, they might not. We advise you not to lodge the application if you're going to be refused because it's a lot of money. Just the visa fee is $3,000 for a permanent visa, so don't do anything crazy and lodge an application without meeting the requirements. But if you lodge one today and you do meet all the requirements and you have all the documents, the government has to give you a visa. That's how the law is arranged. From July 2012, things will change dramatically. This is how it works today. So the General Skilled Migration Program. Candidates who meet visa requirements can apply for a visa as long as you pay the fee. So we can go there. What's your name? Pamela and I go down to the department and say, Pamela, let's lodge a visa application fee process for you. Let's lodge an application for a permanent visa. And do you have $3,000? Yes, let's go. They will take her money, of course, and they will process the application. Now, if she doesn't meet the requirements, they will refuse the visa. But if she does, if she has the right qualifications, work experience, speaks a lot of English, etc., 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 then they have to give her the visa. That's the law. The government must grant a visa if the visa applicant paid the correct fee, meets the requirements, and presented the right documents. From July 2012, and of course, like I said, you have to be an engineer or a physiotherapist. There's a points test that you have to meet, etc., etc. I'm not going into that now because this is all changing, and that's what I want to talk about. From the 1st of July, you will not be able to apply for a visa anymore. So even if I get Pamela, we go down to the department with $6,000, and I say, let my client lodge a visa application, she's got $6,000 here. They will not accept it. Why? Because the system will change into what is called skill select, and only people who are invited by the government will be able to apply for a visa. So you came here, you did a master's degree in physiotherapy, like we were saying. The government's desperate for physiotherapists. In the past, study 2 years, meet the points test, do the right course, you can apply for a permanent visa after your studies. Not anymore. Another example, a chemical engineer in South America is applying for a permanent visa here. He's got all the right qualifications, great level of English, meets all the requirements. He cannot apply for a visa anymore. What do you have to do now? You have to lodge an expression of interest. So I'm going to get all your documents. You're going to spend a lot of money getting your degrees recognized, taking the IELTS exam and meeting the right score, getting all the documents translated. Then we're going to lodge that expression of interest with the department. And I'm going to say, Department of Immigration, here's my client, John Smith. They would like to migrate to Australia. Do you want them? And only if the department invites you, then and only then you can apply for a visa, and then you pay. So everything's free until they invite you, because that was the way they found to go around the law that if you pay, they must give you the visa if you qualify. So it's not a visa application. You don't get a bridging visa to stay here waiting for their answer, and you can stay in that bank for 2 years.
And what's going on if they refuse? If they refuse and they think that you're not in,
It's not even a refusal. If they don't come back to us and invite you,
there is nothing to do.
there's nothing to do.
Forget out Australia.
Well, you can have other visas in the meantime. You can remain here as a student, you can apply for sponsorship via work offers. If you're in a relationship with an Australian, you can apply for a spouse visa, but the permanent skilled visa will not be an option for you if the government doesn't invite you. Now, how is the invitation going to be made? So far what we know is that there's going to be an automated system, and there is a points test. Everyone has to score at least 65. The system will automatically invite the people with the highest scores. But we're not going to know the highest scores. So let's say, what's your name?
Frank.
So Frank comes to me and says, Eric, I want to try. I want to lodge an expression of interest. And I say, okay, let's look at you. He's got all the right qualifications, his English is awesome, he scored 8 on the IELTS and everything, he's got his papers ready, we get a skills assessment, we lodge the invitation, the expression of interest, and we don't hear from anyone. And I go, but Frank has 80 points. How come they're not inviting him? Someone might be having 90, 95. And I won't be able to explain to you why you're not being invited, because they're not going to publish this information. They're not going to say who you're competing against. So you're not going to know, am I good enough or not? We're only going to know, after we lodge. And if we don't hear from them in 2 years, then we know they don't want you. Come on. It's not good, right? So this is the reality, unfortunately. Why are they doing this, and how are you guys going to deal with this, okay? So there's no more, let's go to Australia, study for 3 years and then apply for a visa. You have to come to Australia and apply for that post-study visa if you're doing university studies. If you don't want to go to uni or you cannot afford uni, you come here to study, and in all cases, you've got to find a job. This will be the only way to stay here permanently, unless you're married in Australia, which I'm not going to suggest, because, I can't suggest that. But if it happens, great. It's another way. But that's not a plan. We cannot plan for that. This government that we have at the moment in Australia is a Labour government, Labour Party. Labour means work, jobs. That's what they're interested in, keeping jobs for Australians and generating jobs for everyone who's here. So the skilled migration, the general skilled migration program was a pathway for skilled professionals to migrate by themselves. So I have lots of engineer clients who came here and now they drive cabs. Did the country gain anything with that? No. They might be happy, yes, but they came because we needed engineers. We don't need cab drivers. So the government looked at the program and said, this is not working. How can we make it work? And this is the way they found. You can stay as long as you have a job and as long as your employer is willing to give you that visa. Now, don't be scared. It's not the end of the world. More and more companies are giving work visas for people. If you have work experience, if you have qualifications, if you speak English, you will find work eventually. But you need to be here. If you go back home and say, Australia is out of control now, I'm going home, then you're closing the door. If you stay here, if you continue studying, working part-time, something will happen. There's more than 20,000 companies in Australia today who give work visas for people. Not for one, for several. So there's like 200,000 people on a work visa now. After 2 years working for the same company, the company can give you a permanent visa. Forget about being invited, all this nonsense. It's streamlined. In July it's going to be even more streamlined, and it happens. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. There would be no Bravo migration. So we used to do a lot of general skilled migration applications. We're doing a lot of work visas because no one qualifies for that anymore. And it will be even harder after July. So the fact that I'm standing here is proof that people are giving work visas. So if you have a diploma in business, from that, that's the minimum qualification you need to be sponsored. I'm not talking about a bachelor, I'm talking about a diploma. So if you came here with nothing, and you're doing a diploma in business at Australian Pacific College, diploma in marketing at Kent Institute, that qualification is the minimum you need to get a work visa. Of course, you're not going to be sponsored as a marketing director. You're going to be sponsored as, an administration officer, an events coordinator, a restaurant manager, but that's what you need. That's the minimum qualification you need. If you have work experience from home, that even increases your chances of finding work and a visa. Now, you need to speak English, guys. Okay? So lots of people jump the English course stage, come here to do business courses directly. You might have to go back when you finish and do some English, because if your English is not, the minimum necessary, you can be the best professional in your field, you're not going to find work here. You can be the best architect in the world, but if you don't come to a job interview and convey that message to your potential employer, it's not going to happen. Yes?
It can be questionable, that strategy. Like you're doing the whole course in business or whatever, or marketing, and then you go study English, and how come you do
if you do the right thing, for example, if you do an IELTS preparation course, you still can get that visa. You can explain that you might want to do a master's degree, and your university requires you to have the IELTS.
English?
Yeah, or academic English or business English. So it's all a matter of, again, each case is a different case. We have to look at what you were doing before and suggest, yes, it's a possibility or no. If it's not a possibility, you might have to do some private English studies at night or a part-time course that doesn't affect your visa course. But a reality that we see is the students without the right English are the ones struggling to find work and then, of course, a work visa. So that's why they're doing this. They're literally destroying the skilled program because they want people to apply via the work employer nomination program, pretty much. Now, one thing that will remain is the state sponsorships. So today, we have the list of professions that are in demand that comes from the Department of Immigration. The Department of Immigration is a federal body, but we have state bodies as well that say, oh well, you don't think we need massage therapists, they're not in demand, but here in South Australia, we need massage therapists. So they have their own lists, and they sponsor people on a permanent visa to go and live there for 2 years as a massage therapist, and then you get a permanent visa, or you might get a permanent visa straight away. That will remain. The states are shutting down for now, very soon, before July comes, because they're not going to sponsor anyone for a while. But next year, they probably will start sponsoring people again. And you won't need an invitation from the department if you have a state saying, we want him. So, who they're going to want, we're only going to know in 2013. But that's another option.
So, I'm sorry, so what you're saying is that it depends on the states? So
Yeah.
some states it's easier to find a sponsor in
No.
a specific area
No.
and then...
No, what I'm saying, that's the work visa. The
Yeah,
work
for the work-
sponsorship
for the
visa
work
is one thing.
sponsorship.
What I'm talking about is the permanent skilled visa, where we have the skilled occupation list, so we need engineers, doctors, dentists, etc. Each state, they have their own list, and they might want a massage therapist, which is not in the federal list.
Yeah.
In terms of finding work, yes, there are other states where, depending on what you do, it might be easier. But that's not what I'm talking about. For example, Western Australia at the moment, everyone has a job. It's booming. If you're an engineer, if you're a mine engineer, if you're a project manager for construction, you should be there because that's where jobs are pumping. Where there's more jobs, there's more chances of you finding a work visa. So. But this is something else. And we don't know who they're going to want. It's only going to be in 2013, but it's another pathway to avoid those crazy invitation-only things because that's scary. All right? Now, everyone knows about the employer migration program. Is everyone familiar with it? Probably everyone heard about the sponsorship visa. It is a temporary visa. It's called 457. What do you need? You need a job offer in a profession that has, certain links with your past. So, for example, a lot of people come here and say, I studied hotel management back in my country, but now I work as an accountant. Can I be sponsored as an accountant? We have to have a look at your subjects, at your work experience. And sometimes, yes, it can be done. But certain things cannot be sponsored. If you're working as a waiter, doesn't matter if you have a bachelor degree in waitressing, it's not on the list. This visa also has a list. It's very extensive. There's a lot of things there, from business to marketing to everything you can think of, but what we call non-skilled work is not there. So no babysitters, no pizza delivery drivers, no waiters, that sort of thing. You cannot be sponsored. But if you have what we call a skilled job and you have certain qualifications and work experience, you have great chances of being sponsored if the company wants to do so. And like I said, it's getting simpler and simpler for companies to do that, and everyone's familiar with this visa. And most importantly, there are jobs out there. We have companies calling us every day saying, I need someone, and I found this guy, but he can only work part-time. What can I do? And then we help them with the process. So there are jobs out there. Other states sometimes have more jobs in certain areas, but mainly the whole economy in the country is doing really well, therefore there are jobs. Now, because it's a temporary visa, you need to keep working, otherwise you lose your visa. You have a temporary visa today. A student visa is a temporary visa. There's a date saying you must leave Australia by blah, blah, blah. If you stop studying, the reason for your student visa to exist stops existing, so you lose your visa. Same thing with the sponsorship visa. If you get a job and that job gives you the visa, because it's not your boss who's giving you the visa, it's not the company, it's the job and the Department of Immigration. So if that job ceases to exist, your visa will cease to exist as well. So if you stay in the same job for 2 years, after those 2 years, the company can nominate you for a permanent visa. If that company is in what we call a regional area, it's even easier for them to nominate you for the permanent visa. So that's what the current Australian government wants you to do. They're not kicking anyone out of the country. They're not saying no one can come to study. Quite the contrary. They're saying, please don't base your studies on migration purposes. Like people, I want to study nursing because it gives a visa. That's not going to happen anymore. Now, if you really want to be a nurse and you come here and study nursing, we're desperate for nurses. So you're going to finish your Bachelor of Nursing, you're going to get that post-study work visa, and you're going to apply either for this or that. Things will happen naturally. That's what this government wants you to do. So they don't want anyone buying courses just, like in the old times, people were studying cookery, hairdressing, doing crazy things to get visas. And a lot of people got permanent residence via that pathway, but now, unfortunately, it's not the case anymore. If you really want to be a cook, you can study cookery now on a student visa, and when you finish your studies, you'll find work in a restaurant, and the restaurant can sponsor you. 2 years later, you can get PR. So, and we still do a lot, there's a lot of cooking jobs out there, from small cafes to celebrity restaurants. So, there are jobs. Yes?
Will this skilled graduate temporary visa
Yep.
be still available after 1st of July?
Yes, it is, and that's a very good question. There's a lot of people saying the visa will die. No, it will not die. If you have an occupation on the skilled occupation list and you complete a course related to that occupation 2 years, you're going to be able to apply for that as well. So it's not dying, it's just that there's going to be 2 post-study visas. The skilled graduate, which exists for a while, the 485, and the new post-uni study, only for people who went to university courses.
And how is this to get a sponsor visa? From
Well, you mean the visa or the sponsorship offer?
the sponsor, I don't really know because I don't really know the difference.
Yeah,
but
now the visa is one thing. If you meet the requirements of the visa and you use the right documents, and that's when a company like ours comes in, we help you with that, the visa will come through stress-free. If you're asking about having an offer, like I said, there's 20,000 companies in Australia giving visas like that. Our company is one of them. It's easy at the moment because there are not enough people to fill vacancy jobs, for jobs. We have an opening. I went into LinkedIn and I started looking at strangers and inviting them. There's an opening in our business. Do you want to talk to us? Because there are not enough skilled people there. So, what do you do? What is your field?
I was doing nursing back in my country, but because I'm Spanish, the only option is coming with a student visa with a sponsor visa, or achieving the.
So you
PR.
don't have a degree yet.
No, I already had.
So
I
you're a
already have
nurse.
my master. I have all my things, my experience. All
Go
those
to a
things, but-
hospital now.
But the point is that they're asking first for the English exams.
Ah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
those
Like I said, you need to
Yeah,
speak English
I think
first.
so.
You need to get registered as a nurse first, which
Yeah.
requires English, IELTS Academic 7.
Yeah.
And then when you have the registration, you see, in 2 days,
It's
a
easy.
hospital
It's
or a
easy to
clinic is
find.
gonna scoop you up. As simple as that. Because we're so desperate for nurses. Yes.
I'm gonna come back again to this skilled graduate because you said after 1st of July, if you're gonna enroll to this list, then bridging visa is not existing anymore,
Okay,
right?
the skilled graduate visa is the temporary visa that you apply after 2 years of study. Are you talking about the skilled graduate
yeah.
visa or the skilled migration program?
And then waiting for an answer from the government.
That is not part of the changes. You don't need an invitation. It's going to remain the same.
So I will
You
be on
will
bridging
finish
visa.
your course,
Yeah.
you apply, you get a bridging visa, you
Yes.
stay here. Now, what are you studying?
IT.
And do you have a bachelor in IT?
No, I'm finishing master now.
Okay, so it's been 2 years?
Yeah.
Do you have a bachelor from home?
Not in that field.
So then you might have a problem to be recognized as an IT professional, which is required for this visa.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that, because it's not only about the visa, it's about you as well, if you have everything. But this visa is not going to be affected by the invitations. That is just for permanent visas. It's for the, see, there's 2 types of visas. The skilled graduate, that's fine, it's not changing. The skilled permanent visas, they are changing. They're the ones that you're going to need invitation. The 485 graduate remains the same.
So finishing master here is not.
It's not necessarily just that. You might be able to apply for the post-study one. Is it a 2 years master?
Yes.
So you might be able to apply for the other one, but when did you start? Before November 2011?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, the 485 would be better for you, but studying on its own was never an option. There's other things you have to meet as well, other requirements, so you have to have everything. So maybe send me an email with your details and I'll have a look for you, because just studying here is not enough. It has never been enough. You have to see if everything falls into place. Okay? Does anyone have any other questions? Because from me, that's pretty much it. This is us again. If you need to talk to us about assessing your circumstances, we offer 20-minute free consultations every week here at Information Planet, or you can book it in our office. And then if you can apply for a visa, we offer the visa application service. So this is our contacts, and I hope this has been useful. All right? Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.